Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Hurricane Watch Team is here with your tropical weather update for Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023. Today, we're going to be talking about Tropical Storm Franklin and other areas of investigation that we're going to be talking about today. First, Tropical Storm Franklin earlier today had made landfall there on the island of Hispaniola. Throughout the rest of today, it will be producing lots of heavy rain, gusty winds, mudslides, and landslides on the island of Hispaniola. The outer rain bands have seen a lot of lightning due to some intense convection and the ocean being so warm, the atmosphere being very, very unstable. If we go here, do this. There we go. So yeah, there's been relatively a decent amount of convection and lightning in the outer bands just off the coast of Puerto Rico. This is just going to allow more heavy rain to, occur over Hispaniola. This is going to continue to drift northward, and as it gets over the Atlantic Ocean, it's going to rapidly intensify. The latest update from the National Hurricane Center brings it to a Category 2 peak, winds of 105 miles per hour. We'll just refresh this page. That is right over the island, around 40 miles an hour right now. The main threat with this storm right now is going to be the heavy rain, mudslides, and flooding. I do not believe that tropical storm force winds really are going to be the major threat. Winds aren't going to be the big threat. It's really going to be that heavy rain and flooding that is occurring right now. As this makes its way farther off to the north, it is going to move off the coast of Hispaniola and make its way over the Atlantic and intensify. Some other things that we're going to be dealing with are going to be rip currents along the Florida coast and east coast of the United States as the storm does intensify. I do not believe that this storm is going to make landfall. It's going to be pulled out to sea by the jet stream. I'm going to take a little look at the models and take a look and see what we're looking at here with what the models are saying with this system. All right. So there it is. It makes landfall. It moves right over, and as predicted, it does intensify a little bit as low as the 970s. But again, this does come very close there to Bermuda. So some heavy rain, possibly some gusty winds. But the biggest threat with Bermuda is just going to really be certainly going to be some very, very, very heavy rains there. Some possible flooding for sure. I believe it's a couple of islands, not just one island with Bermuda. But it's going to produce a lot of heavy rain, and there could be definitely going to be some rip currents involved with this. As it makes its way off to the northeast, it is going to bypass Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, northern Canada there. Rip currents, big waves are going to be a threat, heavy rain, but at this point is going to be moving well around 30 miles an hour. This jet stream rapidly pulls it up and rips it apart. By that point, it will definitely be completely destroyed by the time it makes its way to Greenland. Because it is being ripped apart by the mountains of Hispaniola, it's going to take a little bit of time for the center and everything to kind of bring the whole storm back together. So that's kind of why we're seeing that with the models, it taking a little bit of time to bring the storm back to where it was before. So here it is. The H-Wharf model does show it a little bit stronger at 993 millibars upon landfall there. But as you can quickly see, it loses its general structure, rapidly weakening there. But the moment it gets back over water, we see the reds and the purples once again. The very, very heavy rain associated with this, especially in the outer bands and near the center around the where we have the heaviest of the rain and wind. As this continues to intensify, I do believe we will see an eye wall, eventually an eye begin to develop as this does rapidly intensify. A major hurricane is possible with this for sure. The H-Wharf is showing a little bit more intense at about 943 millibars at its strongest, where we could be seeing winds easily 115, 120 miles an hour. Major Category 3 hurricane is likely with this. The lower dynamics, they are showing winds being around 100 knots, 100 knots, 103 knots. So they do show a peak about 105.6 knots. So we're certainly dealing with a much significantly stronger system at 946.5 millibars. Bermuda's such a small island, I didn't even see it come on screen. Regardless, Bermuda is still going to have the same effects: rip currents, heavy rain, and isolated gusty winds with this. Go back to GFS, and we just take a look at the North Atlantic Ocean. Again, there is Franklin right there, moving out to sea. The main threats with Franklin are just going to be rip currents and some heavy rain with this. Its main impacts are already being main impacts are already being felt in Hispaniola, and that's going to move away. And the main story with that is just going to be how strong it really gets. But it's not going to be directly impacting any land later in its lifetime. There are all other systems that could likely develop, and I do want to take a look at that if we go back to the National Hurricane Center. Go 7-day forecast. We have this system, which does appear that it could develop in the next 3 to 4 days from now, the next week. It does have a 70% chance of tropical cyclone formation. The National Hurricane Center is saying that there is an area of low pressure centered several hundred miles east-northeast of the Leeward Islands. This is the remnants of Tropical Storm Emily, and it does continue to produce a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Upper level winds are forecast to become more conducive for development in a day or so. This storm is likely to regenerate into a tropical depression or a tropical storm later this week. So I'm going to be watching that, but this is going to be an out-to-sea storm. Same with this, it's just going to move around the high pressure, around the ridge of high pressure, and that's kind of what we're looking at with these systems. So no direct impacts to the United States with any of these systems at this time. We'll continue to update you on that. Here in the East Pacific, we do have this system right here. Basically, it's just an elongated trough of low pressure. It is located several hundred miles offshore the east of the coast of Central America and southern Mexico, and environmental conditions in fact do appear to be generally favorable for gradual development of this system, and a tropical depression is likely to form by this weekend while it moves slowly to the northwest or north-northwest. So it does have a 70% chance over the next 5 days. Do want to look at the models for this system here for sure. East Pacific. That was Hillary. That's why. I'll see in that. So it's going to be right down here. And there it develops. Could become a hurricane. This says up here it could even become a 100 up to 100 mile an hour hurricane as it makes landfall there in Mexico. So we're going to be closely monitoring that and be talking about the effects that it could have on Mexico. Again, if that does happen, we're going to be dealing with storm surge. Could be seeing 6 to 8 feet, possibly up to 10-foot storm surge if we do have a 105 mile per hour hurricane. We're also going to be looking at the heavy rain, flooding, mudslides, landslides. So if you do live in this area, keep looking at the models, keep updating yourself. Look at what the National Hurricane Center is saying, your local weather forecast is saying, and take those forecasts seriously. Take a look at the West Pacific. I do want to take a look at the West Pacific just quickly because we do have a couple storms try to develop out there here in the future. That one off the coast of the Philippines, and then that one just right off the coast of Japan there. The one off the coast of the Philippines expected to drift northward, and then high pressure here in northern China is going to cause it to move just north of the just north in the Chinese area. All right, the Beijing area. All right, back to I'm gonna go to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. Let's spell it correctly. Joint Typhoon Warning Center. Boom, there we go. So there it is. We do have Tropical Depression 8W, and then we have Invest 91W. Let's take a look and see what we got here. This is the latest satellite imagery. As you can see, there is a deep amount of convection here. We have the North Mariana Islands right here. We have Guam right down here. I want to take a look at the direction that this is going to be going. So it is going to be making its way north, away from Guam and the Mariana Islands. It should stay away from most major land masses. Area of high pressure, I do believe, is going to steer it away. The jet stream is going to come to dip down. And it should steer it away from Japan, so there will not be direct impacts with Japan, but rather indirect impacts, rough seas and stronger currents. And then looking here at Invest 91W, which is now has a tropical cyclone formation alert. What's going on here? There you go. So it does have tropical cyclone formation alert. This is the storm just to the north, just to the east northeast of the Philippines. In the East Philippines, we could be dealing with some heavy rain for sure. Possibly some mudslides and landslides as the storm is churning just off the coast of the Philippines. I do want to take a look at the general direction it's going to be going. So it is moving to the northeast towards these towns and these islands off the coast of Taiwan. So again, heavy rain and flooding is going to be the biggest threats. Gusty winds as the storm does develop. Back to the tropical tidbits. Actually, would be 91W. There it is. So it does certainly develop relatively quickly there. It does take a little bit of time, but gets itself up and going really quickly. Could be dealing with a strong Category 3, possibly even 130 mile per hour typhoon. So that being said, not a whole lot is going on here, but this is the latest satellite with Franklin. I do want to just take a quick look at the entire North Atlantic here. Water river is what I need to click on. And then get loop. So as you can relatively see in the main development region, right in this area right here, there really isn't a whole lot of dry air. There's a little bit of dry air, but we're not seeing those deep, dark crimson red colors. We're just seeing a lot of grays, blues, yellows, kind of showing generally a lot more moisture, as we are seeing that monsoon season for North Africa right now. I do believe that we will see significantly more storms. 80% of the hurricane season is still ahead of us. Once we get into September, we still have October and November. You know, once we get to September, we get October. We do generally see a lot more storms in the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. Once we get into October, that's when we're going to have to watch, where we could see some of the sea surface temperatures actually be used up for hurricanes. But just because we're starting to get once we get past the peak, if there isn't a lot more storms, we still have to get through October and those October, November, because that's really where we're going to see a lot of the activity. I think is in the last months. And again, it only takes one storm to make it a significant, a memorable hurricane season. I mean, remember 2018, we really didn't have that many storms, but October 10th, 2018, had Hurricane Michael. It was a 160 mile an hour hurricane making landfall there in Mexico City Beach, Florida. And that's why 2018 was so historic. It only takes one. So that's really what we got for the North Atlantic. Not a lot going on. Biggest story right now is going to be Tropical Storm Harold producing that immense amount of rain and flooding over the island of Hispaniola. That's going to be it today, guys. Thank you all for watching. Links are all going to be in the description below, Discord and Patreon. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later. Peace out.